Hello, sunshines, and welcome to episode 19 of Directions from a Spiritual Tour Guide podcast. My name is Shanel, and I am your host and your spiritual tour guide, here to talk to you today about animal communication. It's interesting. This has just popped up lately, and I thought it was a great topic to have a conversation about. If you have questions as we go, just drop them in the show note comments or send me a DM on social media. I'm always happy to answer questions about this, as I really feel strongly about giving animals a voice. I have a huge soft spot for critters of all shapes and sizes. Yeah, I don't love reptiles all that much, but just the same, I would help a snake or a lizard just as much as I would help a cute and fluffy puppy or a horse or something along those lines. They definitely have a soft spot for me, and I love nature, and I love animals, and I love seeing them in nature. I have a bird feeder in my living room window that is a total joy for me. But let me come back to where we started. So animal communication has come up a lot lately, and it's interesting. I had an experience this past weekend. I was out at a horse farm teaching yoga to some equestrians, and when I arrived, I was in the room where I was going to teach, which looks out onto the ring. And there was a horse out there, and then they were riding, and it was interesting because I instantly had this odd sensation come over my body, almost like anxiety or fear, but it wasn't that strong. It was curious. And immediately as I was watching the horse, I could tell that there was something wrong. There was a stiffness to its gait, and I'm not a horse person. I don't ride. I don't spend a lot of time with horses, but this is just my innate intelligence, my innate intuition that comes up when I'm around an animal. And it was interesting. It was a beautiful, huge horse, and I just was kind of curious as to what was happening. And it was interesting because as I was standing there watching, there was a couple of riders waiting for me, and a mom. And the mom had said, "Oh, what leg did it hurt?" And I was like, "Oh, so there was an injury for this horse." And so I just took mental note of that. When I was done teaching yoga, I was chatting with the person who sets it up with me that I know. And I had mentioned to her that, I had overheard that the horse had an injury, and I had this really odd feeling when I was standing there watching. I said, "Was it the horse's first time jumping since the surgery?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, that's really interesting." I said, "There was this really odd feeling that came over me, and it was almost like anxious feeling, worry kind of feeling that was I had. And by the time the horse had jumped a few times, it kind of diminished a bit." So I think that made her feel better. It definitely made me feel better. But it was like it sparked something. Then she was telling me about her rescue dog, and, just tapping into that too. And as much as there's always a little bit of a sad story behind a rescue, hers was so loving and so excited and just loved human contact. It was so beautiful. But it was just this reminder of this gift that I have, this skill that I have, that is one that I really value so much. Like I said, it gives the animal a voice. Sort of like when I do medical intuition, I give the body a voice and allow it to speak and share what it needs to share. It's the same thing when I do animal communication. I'm not necessarily reading the dog. I'm allowing the dog to share with me. And it can be such a powerful tool to use with our four-legged friends, our furry friends, our feathered friends, being able to connect to them to know what's exactly wrong. I've had people come to me looking because their dog is in pain. Their animal is got behavioral issues that they're dealing with. Or even today, I had a client whose dog was acting really off, and I had known that the dog had also done a behavior, not a bad behavior, just something that was out of the norm a few days ago. And it was like this awareness of the dog was picking up energy that needed to be addressed, that the dog was being very protective to deal with the energies that we're being surrounded with. So it was really interesting. It just feels like this has come up so much lately that it's so important to talk about it. So one of the ones that really touched me the most was I had someone reach out to me, and I don't even know that they really knew I did animal communication, but they were just desperate for help for their animal. They had a dog that had had a bad accident. Prior to them receiving the dog, taking the dog in, the person that had owned it, they couldn't afford the surgeries and that were going to be required, so it went to a rescue to be able to be saved. This family took on the dog, and they loved him so much and just wanted to get help for him. And it was interesting to understand kind of the life before the accident a little bit, to understand behaviors, as well as the fact that the dog was still in pain, even though the vet assured them that he was not feeling any pain anymore. That was not the case. So through our communication together, we were able to kind of assess where the pup was and what he needed, and to help him to have a voice, to share with these beautiful owners who only wanted to help him to understand where his problems were and what needed to happen. So it is this beautiful experience of being able to connect. Again, like I said, it's not necessarily me reading the dog or cat or animal, as much as it is as I'm tuning into the information that the animal wants to share. It's like having a conversation, kind of. But it's more intuitive, it's more internal than it is external. So, like I said, I use this in medical intuition, which I also do on animals, to be able to assess where the issues are within an animal, where they're feeling their pain, where the injury actually occurs, or where the illness is stemming from. And it's come in handy so many times, even with my own animals, to just kind of know when it's time to step up and do something, when we just need to sit still and allow something to pass. And then, of course, with those that are in trouble, it's always a beautiful way to get the assistance or get the messages across that need to come across. So, yeah, animal communication, such a beautiful thing. Like I said, I feel so drawn to animals, and it's something that's been really on my radar lately with animals coming through in the cards that I choose, and also just the wild animals that are around. Fox medicine has been coming up for me a lot as well. This protective and nurturing, but also this, I've been told, good luck. I like hearing that. And I've seen a lot of foxes through my social media, but also in my neighborhood. We back up onto a big old green space, and we get foxes throughout our neighborhood on a regular basis. They're all friendly enough. The one day we had one in the backyard that couldn't figure out how to get back out again, which was a little concerning, but yeah. So how do you connect to animals? What is